Hey there guys, my name is Luke, this is the Outdoor Gear Review. What an incredible day. It is gorgeous out here. The temperature's pretty warm for being January. I mean, right now it's probably about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, so very comfortable. Yeah, I think the weather conditions are so nice, we need to go camping. Oh yes, this is an overnight adventure. Now, essentially, this is going to be a car camping adventure, which means I have most of my gear inside of the car. I do have a tent, which I will be setting up here in just a minute. Oh yes, lots of new gear to test out. Lots of stuff inside of this bag here. Now, typically at the end of the overnight trips, I like showing off the gear, but let's just go ahead and get that out of the way right off the bat, shall we? First off, this is a Yukon Outfitters pack right here. You'll probably see this a little bit more later on. I believe this is called the Alpha, something like that. I'll flash it on the screen for you. It's definitely a military style backpack. You guys have seen this design with many other packs before, I'm sure. Now, originally, Yukon Outfitters sent me that pack, and it's part of one of their survival kits, right? I was talking with the company. They offered to send me some gear, which some of it I have reviewed. And they sent me the survival kit. And originally my plan was going to do like a survival overnight trip. And the survival kit, all of the gear was just rubbish. I mean, it's better than nothing, but a lot of it was just junk. So I ended up scrapping that idea, and I may get around to doing a review on that survival kit. I did keep all the components to that kit so that I could show them off and talk about them later. But for the most part, terrible. Just terrible. Okay, moving on. Actually, I'll come back to that pack here in just a minute and show you guys what else I have in there. Outback Schwags. This is a swag tent. Swag tent. I want to say swag. I don't know why. Either way. Very cool tent. Famous from Australia, the Down Under, stuff like that. I've enjoyed using this tent so far. It has an integrated sleeping pad into it, which is awesome. It's very cool. Definitely comfortable. I'm looking forward to sleeping on it again tonight. Tonight, we have rain coming in. I don't know exactly what time. I haven't really been checking the weather. But later tonight, we're supposed to have strong thunderstorms come through the area. A cold front's coming in. So essentially, it's going to be like, I don't know, 37, 36 degrees. It's going to be close to freezing, but I'm not expecting any freezing rain. The thunderstorms are going to hit later tonight. The winds are going to pick up some. Tomorrow, it will change over to snow. Now, will I be here for the snow? I don't know. The thing is, I really do have to get to work, but it was such a nice day. I wanted to get out. I want to do some gear testing. I want to film with you guys so I can have a video to share with you. Everybody loves adventure. This video, this trip will be an adventure, as it always is. I love it. Even, I tell you what, I know I like to blab, but you don't have to go on a crazy adventure to have an amazing time. Sometimes, just drive out in the middle of nowhere. If you have some land out in the middle of nowhere like I do, great. But you throw out your tent, you put your sleeping bag in it, man, you just kick back, you relax. It helps a lot. It does a lot for the soul, if you know what I mean. This right here is my sleeping bag. I use this for backpacking all the time. Not. This is the Teton Sports Deer Hunter sleeping bag. This has like a canvas sort of cover to it. This is supposed to be good down to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, I've had this in for just a little bit. This will be the first night using it. And like I said, the temps will be down to 35. So yeah, not too bad. I have a poncho right here, Fjall Raven poncho for the rain in the morning. So if I want to, I can head down to the rocks. You guys are familiar with those. I can start a fire, cook up some water, coffee, all that good stuff. Backpack time. Let's see what is in here. Let's see. I have my miscellaneous kit. This baby right here rocks. This is my new miscellaneous kit. You guys will see a video on this soon. You may have already seen it, depending on when I put those videos up. Pair of Mechanix gloves. I'm doing a little bit of hatchet work. Speaking of which, you guys have seen the Prandi German-style axe. Whoosh, how about this? The Prandi German-style hatchet. Oh yeah, it's got that mean bite. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So what do you think about that? German-style axe, but in a smaller form factor. Oh yeah. Plastic ground sheet. This right here, in this box, is a very interesting product. This company sent this thing to me a while back, and the conditions just haven't been good enough for me to test it out, really. Essentially, it's been so dry here for many months that we had a fire ban put in place, so I really didn't feel comfortable testing out this wood-burning stove with a fire ban, all that good stuff. It just wouldn't have been a smart thing to do. But now that everything's nice and wet again, it's raining, we're back into that wet pattern, it's time to begin testing this thing out. Now, I have not used this stove before. This is the hot ash stove. My initial impressions are, and I have to be honest here, this thing is incredibly heavy. Incredibly heavy. I'm not really sure what the price is on this, but I couldn't imagine going backpacking with this. Car camping, yes. Backpacking, no. It's really, really heavy. Also, from what I've seen from the instructions, I'm not sure if I really like the design of this. We shall see, right? Right now, I'm just going off of initial impressions. Maybe this thing will blow me away. Maybe it won't. I don't know. No matter what, though, you will get an honest review. You will get my honest opinions here with the Outdoor Gear Review. Flashlight. I have a new flashlight, which I've been testing out here for a while. I've really stepped away from doing flashlight reviews because you guys were getting tired of them. I was getting tired of doing them, and it seemed like we were just seeing like the same sort of products over and over. So anytime that I do a flashlight review, it really has to be something special. And this one right here is pretty great, to be honest with you. Check that out. Yeah. What about this? What about that? How unique. This is the Fenix TK32. 18650 battery. You can also use two CR123, 123, I don't remember whatever batteries. CR120, having a brain fart at the moment. CR123 batteries. I don't know. Anyway, you can use two of those. I'll flash those on the screen, the name of them. But yeah, so far, I really like this flashlight. I really, really like it. It's a really good performer. It's powerful. And when it comes to like the red and the green on the high modes, very, very powerful. I'm really impressed with it. A review on this flashlight will be coming up soon, and you guys will definitely see this later on tonight. I have a Mora knife here, and this is the Eldris. You know, I've used this knife a little bit, and there's a lot to like about it. But there's some things which I don't like. Now, I've seen quite a few reviews on this knife on YouTube, and I don't know, some of them just seem to be too glowing, in my opinion. Not to say that this is a bad knife by any means, but yeah, this is a neck knife, essentially. And when it comes to neck knives, you know, they're not my favorite. They're really not. So, yeah, I will actually talk about this more later. If anybody has one of these knives, you definitely want to stay tuned because I have a project which I will do with this knife later, which will make it somewhat better if you carry that as a neck knife. Right? USGI stainless steel cup. Some Tasters nasty. Oh yeah. I have some cashews in here too. Mountain House chili mac meal for dinner. Ah, it's a TOAKS titanium pot. It's a new one. This is the 750 milliliter titanium pot with the bail handle. Now, one thing that I've noticed here, this is actually my first night out with it, I just ordered this, got this in. In the past, I reviewed at least one titanium product here from TOAKS, and I absolutely hated this bag, and I hated the pull here. It was terrible. So maybe they watched my video, maybe they took notice of my complaints and fixed that, but I am very glad to see a different style bag with the pull here. So that's great. Perfect for hanging over a fire or sitting on top of a stove, whatever. Yeah. For the most part, that is it. That's the gear that I'm going to use. That's the gear that I'm going to test out. It is time to set up the tent. Thing is pretty sweet for car camping, hunting, so on. Yeah, hopefully it performs as good as it looks. Teton Sports has a very good reputation for a reason. That looks pretty darn good in my book. What do you guys think? That is a very wide sleeping bag. I told you folks, those buzzards, every time I come out, they come out too. I'm pretty sure they're waiting for me to die out here. Not today, turkey buzzard. I'll tell you what, being able to set up your tent that quickly is a huge plus. So far, I really like that tent. It's very cool, it's very different. The sleeping pad, which is included, is awesome. It's definitely not a product for everyone, that's for sure. Okay, let's take the Mora knife and some paracord. Let's go sit down for a little bit. Alright, so it's Mora time. So as mentioned before, this is a neck knife. It is the Mora Eldris. I believe that's how you pronounce that. It's a very small form factor neck knife. As you can see here, you have a hole for your lanyard or your string, basically your rope to hang this around your neck. What a cutie, right? What an unusual knife. You know, there's something I like about this knife, but at the same time, there are elements which I don't like. First off, when it comes to neck knives, I'm not a fan. It is what it is. I am just not a big fan of neck knives. I don't like having anything around my neck. I don't like having things bouncing around. Also, in many cases, the knives are not very secure. You know, it's like when you go to the casino and you take a dollar bill and you put it into a machine or whatever it is, you are gambling, right? You're gambling your money. If you carry a knife that is not fully locked in, you're gambling. You're gambling with your life, you're gambling with your tools. So yeah, just in general, I don't like to gamble. And right here, even though this is very snug, it really is secure, but it's not 100% secure. You could lose this. Most neck knives are that way. I'm just not a big fan. But I was talking with a friend of mine. We were actually discussing this product here, this knife. And he gave me an interesting idea. So yeah, you know, I was like, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Let's see if that works. So what I have here is a small ring. Very similar to like a keychain ring. You'd put your keys on this. Now I'm going to attach that to the end of the sheath here, right? Then I'm just going to rotate that on. So there you go. On the end of the sheath, you have that split ring. Now what I have here is some 550 paracord. So what I'm doing here really is figuring out exactly how much length do I need. And I can eyeball this and I can make changes later on, but let's see. So I want to have it hanging right about here, so something like that would work well. Right now I'm just kind of eyeballing all this. I'll show you everything here in just a minute when I get done figuring it all out. Okay, I'm going to take the lighter towards the ends here so it stops fraying. Let this cool down real good, or this stuff will stick to you like napalm. They've gotten cooler. I'm going to go ahead and tie these together. We'll put the knot right at the very end here. Okay. So as you can see there, perfect. Now here at the back of the knife, you have a lanyard hole. I'm going to take my end of the paracord and I'm going to push that through. Just like so. Okay? Okay, now I'm going to take this end and I'm going to pull through on that. So essentially what I have is this, as you can see. The knife is secure to the paracord, right? Now it goes back in the sheath. Grab hold of the ring that you put in there and take your paracord and slide that through. Ah, now check that out. Now you have a knife that is 100% secure, that will not fall out. So folks, check that out there. Can you see what's been done? paracord's been wrapped around the handle of the knife. As you can see, it comes up, it goes through that ring, and wham, just like that, the knife cannot fall out of your sheath. You cannot lose it. This is something that I will have to wear for a while because I'm not sure if I really find this comfortable, to be honest with you. This knife doesn't weigh a whole lot, but at the same time, it's not super lightweight either. And also, having paracord on my neck isn't all that comfortable, but it's definitely an improvement. You're not going to lose this knife. Like I said before, there's a lot to like about this knife, but there's some aspects which I just don't. And I'll mention all those in the review. Oh, Dee Dee. I miss you, big dog. I miss you, baby. I miss you, sweetheart. Right there, that's where we buried our husky. We had to put her down a couple of months back. But every time I come out here, I go spend some time with her, hang out with her. I don't know. I can still feel her. I love that dog so much. I know some people are probably thinking, it's ridiculous, it's just a dog, but not to me, not to me. I think it's time to mess around with that stove a little bit. What do you guys think? I'm feeling like a cup of coffee big time. Taster's nasty, oh yeah. Put this back on. Now, over my jacket, this is comfortable. I actually like it. It's not too bad there. Check out this stove. Okay, so as you can see here, there's many different parts. So I've never actually put this together before. So, not entirely sure how this goes. I'll do my best, do what makes sense. We'll see if it all works out. I'm the type of guy who doesn't really care about instructions all that much. I look at the instructions when something doesn't work. Back legs, tripod, ramp, I suppose. Okay. To start off, I need some wood. Might as well hit up the bushcraft shelter. Folks, it has been raining really good for the last couple of weeks, so everything really is nice and damp, that's for sure. But I know for a fact that all the debris that I put on top of that shelter is nice and dry, so I will start there. Actually, when Lucas and I came out for the Christmas Campfire Chronicle, we started burning on that thing, tearing it off. So it was a good shelter. It lasted a long time. We might have to build it back one day. Another day. You know, the truth is, I don't even feel bad about tearing this thing down. Actually, it excites me just a little bit because I know that I can come back out and build another one. So essentially what I'm going to do is make some kindling. Some really small, fine pieces to go inside of my stove. Hopefully this stuff will be dry enough to burn. As you guys can see here, this thing is wicked sharp. Just going right on through, no issues. Yesterday, the family and I, we went hiking out in the rain. Oh my gosh, it was awesome. It was incredible. I'll tell you what, I'll share some photos of that with you right now. we've got some smoke coming out of the top. Things are burning. I'm sure you guys are wondering what I think about this stove here. I think right off the bat, it's too heavy for backpacking. It's, in my opinion, too heavy for bushcraft work as well. I think it's a little bit too complicated to use. Too many items have to be, put together and then taken apart later on. With the wing nuts, that's just something else that you can lose. It's not super easy to light this. Now, I am impressed with how much heat goes up the chimney here. For a volcano stove, that aspect does work well. There's lots of airflow. The heat rising is very impressive. When it comes to stoves like this, half of the fun is feeding the beast, right? This one is very unsatisfying when it comes to feeding it, right? You feed from the side and you have to push it in, essentially underneath the chimney here. My heat's gone out because this stuff is wet. That's where this bellows really comes in handy. Oh yeah, that works well. I tell you what guys, this right here, the V3 Pocket Bellows, you guys have seen this before, I have a review on it. Thumbs up. I will definitely be using this hatchet more later on tonight when it comes time to get this fire going. Guys and gals, cheers. Whew, that'd be hot. Sun is already down behind those mountains there. I've been fiddling with this stove for about 40 minutes or so. And when it comes to my preliminary thoughts on this, this is the first time that I've used it. I will definitely test this thing out, fire it up, a dozen times before I pass on a review for it. But right out of the box, I dislike this stove. Yeah. The company sent this to me, and I have to be honest with my thoughts on it. It's heavy. It's way too complicated for its own good. The volcano aspect works great. All that heat really is funneled and rises where it needs to. But because of the design, it's just too complicated to, get this thing lit, to feed it. It's not satisfying to feed. So far with the Mora knife and the upgrades that I've done here, I guess you could say they're upgrades, I like it. This actually works pretty well, to be honest with you. It does take more time to essentially get this thing off of the hook, off of your neck. But when you're hiking around, you typically don't need your knife all the time, right? So having to take this off of your neck, then release the blade, it's not that bad. At least you know you're not going to lose your knife. That's so important. Take a look at this knife. What do you guys think about this thing? As I mentioned before, it has some pros, it has some cons. This is like a combination grind on it, which I'm impressed with. It's wicked sharp. You have 3 different grinds on this blade. The spine here is very, very sharp, 90 degrees. Very sharp. When you put your thumb on that, it's almost too sharp, to be honest with you. Yeah, it really grabs at your skin there. If you had to sit there and do a lot of work like this, it would probably wear your thumb raw. Short duration, fine. Long duration, not so fine. It's funny with the handle here. I appreciate how fat it is, the palm swell, but at the same time, it seems overkill for this knife. It almost seems like it's adding too much weight for the tiny little blade that's on here. And this is only a little bit more than 2 inches, I believe. I'm trying to think of a situation where I would want to carry this instead of, my typical everyday average full-size knife. Or, in what situation would this replace my pocket knife? Right? Yeah, I'm just not sure. You definitely have to be careful with a hatchet like this. This thing has a mean bite. As you can see here, this hatchet, does a fantastic job. Very sharp. You definitely have to pay attention to what you're doing here. Taster's nasty. Puts hair on your face. Unsubstantiated claim, by the way. Please don't sue me, Taster's Choice. Fire time. There are a ton of layers to this here. First is dry grass. Quite a bit of that, very compact. Then small sticks, then the kindling. Got a nice fire going here. Gosh, it is full of moisture. Everything here is just sopping wet. You could probably hear the sizzle of all that moisture coming out of this wood. It's not a very hot fire because it is so wet. Gosh, it has taken me a long time to get this fire going. A lot of work. It really has just taken a ton of work here. But it is definitely going, and it is definitely time to heat up some water for our dinner. Mountain House meal tonight. Chili mac. Oh yeah. Chili mac is pretty darn good in my opinion. I've always liked it. Cannot wait for it to start raining tonight. Nothing is better than rain on a tent. You sleep like a baby. That's for sure. I tell you what, folks, I am thankful for this fire here, but yeah, it is having a hard time. You can see all that steam coming up. It's not smoke. I mean, some of it is, of course, but most of it, that's steam. It's just so wet. But at least dinner here feels nice and warm. It's starting to cool down. I'd say it's probably low 40s right now, probably 40 degrees, something like that. Guys, I appreciate all of the comments that you guys have posted on Facebook here. I tell you, I will make a separate video going over all the questions because there are so many. But there's some great ones here. I'll answer this one real quick. Brian wants to know, what was it like getting confronted by security at Area 51? That was interesting. You know, very intimidating individuals. From what I understand, it's private security that guards Groom Lake, maybe the other entrances as well, I'm not really sure. But yeah, they were driving a white Ford Raptor in camo, and we were going down, I think it's called Groom Lake. And it's been so long since I've been there, it was earlier this year. And my brother, he's the one who's really, really into Area 51 and UFOs and stuff like that. But anyway, so we're heading down Groom Lake, and we're heading to, I believe it's the back entrance to Area 51. And like, just to get out to Rachel, Nevada, we had been driving forever. Just all over the place. The GPS took us on this gigantic goose chase, but it was still great. I enjoyed every moment of it. Anyway, so we're heading down this gravel road, and we see this white truck coming. And just from what I've seen on YouTube, I knew who it was. Anyway, so they kind of just drove in the middle of the road there, and essentially we just stopped, and they pulled up beside us. They essentially said, like, what the hell are you guys doing? You know, where do you think you're going? And they're like, well, you should just turn around and head on now. And that's exactly what we did. How many people get kicked out of Area 51 by the camo dudes? Not a whole lot, I wouldn't guess. I don't know. But we didn't feel like pushing our luck being that far from home. So, yeah. That was such a fun trip, guys. It really was. The cross-country adventure, filmed the entire thing. It's a series. I believe it was 5 parts on YouTube. If you're interested in watching that, it was an amazing time. My brother and I, we got to see the country, 17 states. We did it all in, I don't even remember how, 5 days, 6 days, something like that now. Loved it. Cannot wait to do it again. What do you guys think about this flashlight? The green and the red, I have to say, I like it a lot. I'm very impressed with it. So, let me ask you all, what is new? What is going on? What's different in your lives? For myself, not a whole lot's different. There is something new though, I'm very excited about. I cannot tell you all what it is right now, but I'm going to give you guys a hint, okay? And I'd say for most people this will mean absolutely nothing, and you may not be able to figure out what it is. But I'm sure there's somebody who's watching this channel who will figure it out and who will know what it means. Now, I have purchased something for the Outdoor Gear Review that's going to add a new aspect to the channel coming in 2017. it was an investment. It's also something that I think that is really, really cool. It's not new land or anything like that, but it's going to add a new avenue, a new series to the channel, which I think you guys are really going to dig. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's also going to be a lot of fun. When it comes to the hint, I will give it to you now. D30. D30. That's all that I can tell you. I know that doesn't mean much. Oh, man. That is awesome. I have a question here from Chris. It's a good one. His question is, what was your favorite place during your childhood to have an adventure at? That is a really good question, and I know the answer. My favorite place, essentially the woods surrounding the house. You know, where I live, there's definitely more houses now than there used to be. A lot of people moving into the area. Thumbs down, right? I know that the area has to grow to survive, but then again, you lose a lot of that magic. But anyway, yeah, so there was a couple of houses that surrounded us. But for the most part, there was so much just vacant land, vacant forest, that I spent my childhood up and down the mountains, all over the place. I'd be 10 miles away hiking around. I really would. You know, it's like my father, he would work really, really hard. You know, he was gone most of the time. He was working his tail off to provide for my brother and I, and of course my mom. My mom, she was at home, but she let us run wild. We played in the woods. That's what we did. We got to run the woods. We got to run wild, and it was awesome. Yeah, we would be everywhere. You know, it's funny. Back at that time, you know, it's like you woke up in the morning, you had breakfast, and then it was time for you to leave the house and go play outside. And we would play outside until the sun went down. Oftentimes, we'd be coming home miles away in the dark. And, I mean, when we were little like that, we didn't even have a flashlight. That's how comfortable my brother and I were in the woods. It's funny, my brother now, you know, he's still comfortable in the woods. Not as comfortable as I am, you know. When you get away from that, when you grow up and you work in an office and stuff like that, you lose a little bit of that fearlessness. And I still have it because I do this so often. I am fearless. Middle of nowhere, in the woods. I love it. I love it. Yeah, so that was my favorite place growing up. Just being out in the woods, man. Just being out in the woods. Oh, yeah. I probably won't do anything else to this fire. I'm just going to let it die out. It's too hard to work on this thing. It takes too much time, too much attention. I'm literally babysitting this fire. Everything's just sopping wet. But I'm not complaining, though. Let me tell you. I love that it's raining. Let it rain every day. That's okay. I would prefer snow, right? But rain is just fine in my book. I'm done with dinner. I'm pretty much just going to hang around the fire here for just a little bit. And then probably turn in. There's only so much sitting around a fire all by yourself that you can do, right? I could talk to the camera for hours and make these videos super long, but I don't think you guys would enjoy that. So I'll bring you guys back when I hop inside of the tent. They're calling for thunderstorms tonight. It's going to hit after midnight. Already there's clouds moving in this direction, so it's coming. I'll go ahead and check the radar here. Let's see what it shows. So folks, that is what we are looking at right there. It is on its way. All right, everybody, I will bring you guys back whenever the storms hit, whenever it starts raining. I tell you what, it might be a pretty wild night. 55 miles an hour plus on top of the ridges, where we are at on the western side, right here. Oh yeah. See you guys in the morning. Good night. Well, folks, it is in the AM, 2 o'clock maybe, and it is raining pretty darn good at the moment. Sounds so good hitting that tent. Nothing is better than sleeping to the sound of rain and thunder. Oh yeah. I've been hearing the thunder rattle for, I don't know, a good 15 minutes or so. definitely getting closer. I could see the sky flashing. It's not on top of us yet, though. Also, the winds haven't picked up yet either. You guys hear that thunder? It's getting pretty close to being on top of us. It's not a strong storm by any means, but it's pretty awesome. I'll give it that. Alright. Good morning, everybody. I slept awesome last night. Thanks to that rain and the thunderstorms. That was pretty darn cool. You know, the old timers, they would say, if you heard thunder in the winter, within 5 days you'll have snow. Oh, man. And I guess tonight we're supposed to have snow. Tonight, tomorrow, the next day, something or other. Oh, man. At the moment, it is not raining. It was sprinkling, drizzling, I don't know, 20 minutes ago, something like that. Right now, it's almost 8 o'clock. To be honest, I'm tired. I stayed up late watching movies. I ended up watching both movies. I was up till 1 o'clock or so. I just could not sleep. Oh, man. 37 degrees right now. But I'm definitely nice and warm. Here with the swag tent, I have to say that, you know, I've stayed dry, but this thing has held a lot of moisture. The walls here, lots of condensation, even with the vent being open that much. You know, honestly, I expected it to perform a little bit better than that in regards to condensation, to the moisture management. Yeah, I mean, it's just soaked, really. Use my flashlight here and kind of take a look around inside of this tent. You can see the condensation buildup here. Alright guys, well, I'm going to get my clothes on, climb out of this thing. This is a very tight fit, I should say. You know, laying down in it, very comfortable. Trying to get out of this, through this front entrance, is a chore. If I was any taller, it'd be very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. But anyway, alright. Gonna get up soon, have some coffee. It's coffee time. Well, folks, that was very interesting. While I was recording some extra footage, some time lapse with the clouds and so on, I started breaking down camp, and I noticed that when I pulled up the sleeping mat, there was a great deal of moisture on the floor. At one point, it was almost a river of water underneath that mat. A lot of that moisture was soaked up by that sleeping pad, and right now it is dripping out of it. There is an issue with that tent. I can't tell you exactly where that water came from, though. Because of the mattress being so thick, I didn't notice it until I pulled that mattress up. I believe what I will do is set this tent up again. I will do so maybe on Sunday, Monday. There's a couple of days where it's going to rain pretty good, so I'm going to set that up outside. I'm going to put my GoPro in it and try to catch this thing leaking, figure out where this water is coming from, because something inside of this tent has failed. You know, the thing is that when I pulled that pad up, there was still a ton of water left down on the ground. So how much water did the sleeping pad itself actually absorb? Quite a bit, I assume. So that means that there's a great deal of water that got into that tent. You know, I was thinking that it might have been water pulling underneath the tent, but when I picked the tent up, no, that's not the case at all. So the water definitely got in from rolling over the tent somehow. More testing needs to be done. All right, it is coffee time. I'm just setting up a makeshift stove here. Going to heat up some water with some trioxane. It is way too wet to even consider getting a fire going. I love this stuff. Trioxane, it's toxic, it's somewhat nasty, but it works so incredibly well. You can heat water with this, you can cook food with this, you can start fires with this. And it's inexpensive. You can buy tons of this stuff off of eBay. Old military surplus. I always keep some tinfoil in my miscellaneous kit for situations just like this, where it's just kind of breezy. This stuff makes excellent lids for pots, windscreens, and so on. The only negative is that it is very fragile. Or, as some people say, fragile. Does anybody actually say that? What's that from, everybody? You can't see it, but it is burning away. So last night was interesting in regards to the swag tent. That is very interesting. You know, there has to be very small holes around that tent because there wasn't a place on the floor that wasn't wet. It was all the way around. And it had especially pulled around the perimeter of that tent, which leads me to believe that, you know, it went down the walls and, you know, pulled there. So I will have to set it up again, put it out in the rain, and really, really pay attention. You know, other than that, it was an awesome night. I had a great time. Whew, it's chilly this morning. It's just a few degrees above freezing. So with that humidity, with that moisture, kind of seeps into your bones. You know what I mean? My hands ache. The joys of getting older, right? Even though the tent failed, still had a great night. This was a very useful trip. Did quite a bit of testing. You know, the true winners, I think, for this trip. One is that flashlight, the Fenix. Very good performer. I really, really like it. I'm very impressed with it. So far, I'm very impressed with the Teton Sports sleeping bag. Right to 37 degrees. This thing supposedly goes down to 0. I'll tell you one thing. With the temperatures being at 37, it's a long way to 0. So that will definitely take more testing. It was nice and comfortable last night, but pushing it down to 0, we shall see. Next up, the Mora knife. Very, very interesting. I'm not really sure what to think about that knife. It seems so confused to me. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about that knife. What do you guys think? Ah, the stove. Look at this thing. It's like a miniature arcade game. You may have seen other reviews on YouTube. I don't know. I'm not really familiar with this stove. I'm not certain how popular it is. So maybe the word's gotten out about it, maybe not. I don't know. Definitely let me know your thoughts. Actually, let me know your thoughts about everything that I've showed off in this video. Please comment down below because I do read every single comment. Guys, gals, I'm out of Taster's Nasty. Oh boy. That means it is time to go. It is time to go. Alright guys, that's it. Adventure over. Gear testing trip done. This trip is exactly what the Outdoor Gear Review is all about. You get the gear out into the field, you use it in real world conditions. You use it in the conditions that for some people they hate, right? You have to, because you have to know the pros and the cons to every product. You have to know what those weaknesses are. And this trip has definitely pointed out some weaknesses on a number of products. So, yeah, it's been a ton of fun. Thanks guys for joining me. Always appreciated. More trips are coming up soon. 2017 will be the year of the outdoor adventure. I promise you that. And lots of adventures are coming up. I want to say thank you to you all for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it, guys. Strength and honor. Have a good one. All right. Whew. Gosh, it is wet. It is wet and muddy. Whew. All right. I'll tell you what. I better walk around and make sure that I didn't forget anything. So far, so good. All right, I'm gonna turn on downhill assist. I'm gonna put that in the lowest gear because this road is beginning to get muddy. It is very, very wet. So I'm trying to baby this road here. Yeah, since it's so muddy, it's slick in spots. Especially this spot right here. Gotta go slow not to slide in it. I don't want to make these ruts really, really bad. Oh yeah, sliding right there. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Alright guys, goodbye. Strength and honor.